Welcome to the Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Today's topic is client acquisition, which is just a fancy way of saying, how do I get customers as a business owner? And to help explain that, we have a special guest today, Josh Hoffman with Groovy Hues. Welcome, Josh.
Anna, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we're so delighted to have you. And Josh, start us off by telling us a little bit about you and Groovy Hues. What does it do?
Yeah, so I am the development director here at Groovy Hues. My background is primarily in home service franchising. So as a franchisee, back-end support. And Groovy Hues is really an executive paint model supported by horsepower brands. We do paint, interior, exterior, and commercial. We do pressure washing, so power and soft washing your home, as well as cosmetic upgrades. So we look at things like shutters, gutters, railings, front doors, things that can beautify your home, as well as raise the value of your home, when you're ready to move or upgrade your home.
Will you come to my house?
Give us a call. Give us a call anytime to our call center. We'll be here to answer.
All right, very good. Well, now we're going to audience and Josh. So you know what's next is we're going to watch the Franchise Minute video on this topic, and then Josh and I will have a lively discussion about client acquisition. Let her roll. Welcome to the Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist, and today's topic is client acquisition. Getting customers is a combination of marketing and sales efforts. One of the big advantages of going with a franchise is the marketing and branding expertise. Marketing is where franchises typically knock it out of the park, whether it comes to traditional, online, or social media know-how. When it comes to sales, that is the domain of the local business owner. So as you select a franchise, understand if the owner is to hire a sales team or be the main salesperson. B2B franchises are a good example of when the owner develops business relationships that drive sales. Just be sure to select a franchise that matches your skill set and desired role in the business. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Come back next week to learn more about franchises. Okay, Josh. So the premise that I made in the video is that it's a joint effort between marketing and sales to get customers as a franchise business owner. What are your thoughts on that?
I would 100% agree, right? On the franchisor level, there's things like branding, where to get customers from, where to put dollars into, that we certainly want to support at a local level and a national level of taking a customer down the customer journey to actually buying. And then again, sales being the side of, hey, locally, I'm meeting with somebody who wants to become a customer. Again, as a franchisee, that's where I'm coming in and saying, all right, we're going to close this deal, so to say. They go hand in hand.
So let's dissect this a little bit more. So when we're looking at marketing, I heard you talk about on a national scale, like the branding, how it's presented across the country. And then there's also marketing efforts in an individual franchisee's territory or market. So I understand, and I'm sure the audience understands, the branding and kind of, we all see TV commercials about McDonald's and things like that, that's the national branding and advertising and marketing that's done. But let's talk a little bit more and explain a little bit more, if you will, about what Groovy Hues does for its individual franchisees in the markets where their customers are.
Yeah, so we talked, you mentioned the national stuff we're doing. So what we put into place is the places that a customer is going to find you, right? So when you think of customer acquisition as a whole and the marketing piece, a lot of times you want to think of it of, well, where did that customer find me? Maybe it was a yard sign. Maybe it was Google, all these other things. These are all the things that spurred them on to do that. So what Groovy Hues is doing is making sure all those pieces are in place from a digital and a local level. So what we help franchisees do is analyze what works in local markets. Now, certainly when we talk about buyers in the United States anyways, markets are very similar, but there's certain things that we would look at and say, hey, this might work really well in Georgia or Wisconsin or California, wherever it is. But there's also things we know about our own communities. I think of where I grew up and the festivals and the street fairs and all the things that happen. And those are the things that we use to say, well, what's going to drive a better result than just the national blueprint? Because again, there are those local ends. So whether it's designed for print ad, whether it's in a home magazine or a direct mailer, we also handle everything when it comes to digital advertising. So social media, Google, Yelp, even things like third-party aggregates, we have national relationships with to make sure that, hey, when a customer is looking for me, they can find me anywhere. And also that I'm top of mind. So we have people in-house who are going to aid a franchisee in that.
Well, and very basic, your headquarters marketing team develops a website for each of the franchisees, and all these campaigns on social media and Google and Facebook, it all drives customers to the local franchisees, correct?
You nailed it.
All right. Now, what's interesting is that let's talk about sales now. What's interesting to me is it makes sense to me that sales would be under the domain, the responsibility of the local business owner, the local franchisee, because that's where the customers are and that's where the employees or the team members are that deliver the service to the customers. But Groovy Hues has two areas that I find really fascinating that you provide as a franchisor to your individual franchisees to help them in the actual sales function. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I would think of the two specific things. One is, well, how do I grab a customer, right? And as a business owner, one of the pains is that, well, I'm worried about answering the phone. I only have one cell phone. Maybe I have an office assistant, and it ends up being not scalable. The other option is to go get a call center. And again, there's a lot of outsourced call centers that are could answer the phone and make sure somebody gets on your calendar. Because again, in any service, that's the number one thing that I'm looking for as a consumer, right? Is customer service. Am I getting answered? So with Groovy specifically, we want to take it one step further. And I think for an owner, it's really important is that we have an in-house call center where all of our agents are actually trained, not only in how do I answer the phone, what is customer service like, but they're trained in paint and power wash. So again, when I think at a local level, you get referrals and people recommending you, it's that I called in and the first person I talked to was friendly, knowledgeable, those types of things. So having that in place, now I feel like I'm calling someone at a local office down the street from me who can answer my questions about paint, power washing, any of the services. And now again, when a franchisee or their sales team enters the home, that consumer already has a level of trust. You already have an edge up on the competition rather than just, hey, anyone can answer the phone.
I think that's amazing that Groovy Hues offers that. So I want to underscore this for the audience. So they have an in-house call center with trained agents that handle inbound calls for all of the franchisees. That is amazing. And that is wonderful customer support and sales support. And I think a massive differentiator between Groovy Hues and even other paint franchise, just other franchises, period, paint or not.
Well, and that's you talk about the second piece that we looked at. So one of the things we're providing franchisees, again, them or their sales team, that person performing the sales, they're going to have all sorts of technology for design, really making that experience great for the consumer. The second piece we looked at was the follow-up piece. That was really important to us. Because again, if I walk in your home as a Groovy Hues owner, you're going to see all the stuff we're doing. You had that great customer experience. You're probably saying yes, but I'm thinking of, myself. I'm a consumer that goes, give me a couple nights to sleep on it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not always just making that decision at a go. So it's then how do I follow up with them? So what we set into place was automatic drip campaigns through our technology platform. One, to remind you that, hey, there's a decision out there to be made. One, that Groovy's probably the right choice for you. So that's happening via email, via text, and calls. So as a franchisee, I'm not spending my time on the phone all day chasing down customers. I'm landing those consumers. And then in the background, I am also getting those touch points in, which ultimately leads to a much higher conversion of customers and ultimately higher revenue.
Well, that So now there are three things that y'all do, because I wasn't thinking of the follow-up email drip campaigns that are automated, but also you have national accounts. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it is one that we're working on and looking at internally as this brand grows. We're emerging still, but we are very much growing quickly within the horsepower family. So one of the things we want to support even more is, well, what accounts can we start to see nationally? Because you think of a Target or a Kohl's or any of these things that they need paint. Every building you have ever been in has paint or stain of some kind. So what we can do at the national level is go, hey, whether I'm at a Target in Oklahoma, Omaha, Nebraska, or Georgia, we know what those laws look like. We can grab those contracts at a national level, as well as foster local relationships with things like custom builders in a greater metro like Atlanta or Dallas, Fort Worth, where multiple franchisees and we can service, because again, we're in all those areas and we can get them that national price. They trust us because we're nationally backed, and you have just residual revenue dripping in. So we're working on those nationally and constantly. There's, again, with paint being on every single building, really it's almost I don't want to say limitless, but it's darn close to what's out there.
So you have both B2B and B2C revenue streams in a Groovy Hues franchise.
That is correct.
Okay, fantastic. Well, very quickly, let's talk about who actually does the sales. Is this the role of the individual franchisee? Do they hire a sales rep, a sales manager? I mean, what does it look like for Groovy Hues?
Yeah, Groovy Hues specific. We certainly don't want any owner touching a paintbrush by any account. We're certainly not that. We want somebody running the business. Now, the beautiful part in that, exactly, Anna, is as a franchisee, I can choose what role I want. Maybe I am more apt to sales, and I want to launch my business and lead that team because that's my skill set. Maybe I'm an electrical engineer who probably doesn't want to work too much directly. I can hire a salesperson, and we encourage to hire a salesperson and lead that team to then scale the business. And the beautiful part is our training. We can train the industry because paint is a very simple model, and with all our tools, we can train that person for you to make sure that you're getting out of the gate and again running the business.
Wow. So the Groovy Hues business model sounds like it's flexible regarding the role that an owner can play in the business. But one thing the business model does not have is the owner picking up a paintbrush. That is not the role of the owner. The owner is a business owner. They're running a business, they're hiring people, they're holding people accountable, right? And they may tend to gravitate to the operations side and hire a salesperson, or gravitate to the sales side and maybe hire a GM. Is my understanding about that correct?
You got it. That's exactly right.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Josh, we're out of time. If someone would like to learn more about Groovy Hues, what do you suggest they do?
Well, Anna, I would, number one, send them to you. Again, if somebody is the right fit for our system or any system, you're going to be the one who's able to guide them and say, hey, here's the right fit for what you're looking for. Again, hopefully that would be a Groovy Hues.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And listen, Josh, I really appreciate you being here and helping explain how franchisees get customers.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Anna.
Yeah, this is Josh Hoffman with Groovy Hues, part of the Horsepower Brands. And I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Thank you, audience, for joining us, and come back next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about how franchisors have embraced and applied technology to their franchises. Thanks so much. See you next week.